threw on.
Yeah, literally.
Okay.
I had something else in mind, but it's weird, like I think 90-degree weather here, which is hot for us, between 90 and 100 degrees, and that's very hot for us. Plus the unique pollution that comes down from Congress, it makes it a little difficult. Okay, so this is a story, of course, that's why it's called Stories for Children. Now, this story I like. I learned this story from another storyteller by the name of Mama Aaliyah. And Mama Aaliyah told an Indonesian story. I asked for her permission to adapt her story, and I made it into an African American story and also an African story. And today I think we're going to get the African story because the animals change depending on the location. And that's one of the things. So this story is about an odd wolf. That's ARRD, as in odd bark, or yes. But they call it an odd wolf, which is strange because it's not a wolf. Now that's odd. The original story talks about a mouse deer, which is neither a mouse nor a deer. So this is about an odd wolf, a antelope, a lion, and an elephant. So, today many people, they wander around, they're so busy looking into their phones, they're not paying attention to where they're going. And I've seen people walk into traffic, fortunately not be hit. I've seen people walk into glass doors. I've seen videos of people walking into fountains at malls. No, you must pay attention to where you're going. But this story takes place long before there were cell phones, long before there was television, in fact, so long ago that pen and paper had not even come into the scene. But this odd wolf that wasn't a wolf wasn't minding his business. He was minding his business and just walking, not paying attention to where he was going, and he fell into a hole. And it was a very deep hole. In fact, he fell into the hole. And when he hit the bottom of the hole, the only thing down there was dirt and a leaf. And this leaf is very important in the story. So the odd wolf tried to jump out, but he couldn't do it. He tried harder, he couldn't do it. And as hard and his forelegs would let him, he leaped, but he couldn't get out of the hole. So he just sat there looking at the leaf. Well, along came a lion. And the lion heard the commotion coming from the hole. And the lion peered down the hole, and he saw the odd wolf, which wasn't a wolf. And he said, "What are you doing down there? There. And the odd wolf saw the lion, and he thought to himself very quickly. He says, "The world's about to be destroyed. And I jumped down here in this hole. I'm not going to do that through the whole story, but I jumped down in this hole because it's the only safe place to be for when the world is destroyed." Well, how do you know the world's going to be destroyed? See this leaf? It's a magical leaf. And this leaf spoke to me. The spirit said, "The world's about to be destroyed, and the only safe place is down here. Just don't sneeze." And the lion thought to himself, "King of the jungle, I got to survive. I don't want to be up here when the world is destroyed." So he leaped down into the hole. Now the lion's in the hole, and the odd wolf, that's not a wolf, is in the hole. And they're sitting there, and a little dust gets up, and the lion gets ready to sneeze, and the odd wolf puts his finger under the lion's nose and says, no, you can't sneeze. Well, why not? Because if you sneeze, you have to be thrown out of the hole, and you'll be up there when the world is destroyed. So the lion got settled, and odd wolf got settled, and odd wolf is still playing with the leaf. And if you think I'm going to make a pun about belief in yourself, I'm not going to do that. Or maybe not yet. So as they sat there, the lion's thinking, the world's going to be destroyed, but I'll have one last meal. And he's looking at the odd wolf. That's not a wolf. And they wait. And along comes a gazelle. And the gazelle hears a noise coming from a hole and looks down the hole and says, "What are you doing down there? There. I promise I'm not going to do that through the whole story. And the lion says, "The odd wolf said that the world's about to be destroyed, and the only safe place is down here in this hole." "Well, how do you know the world's about to be destroyed?" And the odd wolf held up the leaf. He said, "See this leaf? It's a magical leaf. And the spirit inside this leaf told me the world's going to be destroyed, and the only safe place is down here in the hole. And the gazelle looked at the lion, he looked at the aardwolf, and he thought, well, I don't want to be up here when the world's destroyed. So he leaped down into the hole. He got down the hole and stirred up a lot of dust. It was about to sneeze when the lion put his finger on his nose and said, no, you can't sneeze, you can't sneeze. Why not? And the aardwolf said, because if you sneeze, we have to throw you out of here, and you'll be up there when the world is destroyed. So the aardwolf, that's not a wolf, the lion and the gazelle was sitting in the hole, just sitting. And the lion's looking at the aardwolf, and the lion's looking at the gazelle. He says, well, I got lunch and dinner down here. Unless you're from the American South, then you have dinner and supper. No, you have supper and dinner. No, you have dinner and supper. That's the order. So they're sitting there, and all of a sudden they hear a loud noise, and the ground begins to shake, and the noise is getting loud, and the ground is shaking more and more. And the elephant peers down the hole and says, what are you doing down there? Now, I know people waiting for me to go, there. But I promised I wasn't going to do that. It's an old story. So the antelope said, we're down here because the world's about to be destroyed, and the only safe place is here. And the elephant said, well, who says the world's going to be destroyed? And the lion said, the aardwolf, which isn't a wolf, has a magical leaf. And the leaf said that the world's going to be destroyed, and the only safe place to be when the world is destroyed is down here. And the elephant thought, and the elephant said, well, I don't want to be up here when the world's destroyed. So he leaped down in the hole, and it made it very tight, and they moved out the way. And when he leaped down the hole, the ground shook, and dust started coming up. And the elephant got ready to sneeze. And the antelope said, no, you can't sneeze. Why not? Because if you sneeze, we got to throw you out of here, and you'll be up there when the world's destroyed. So they're sitting down there. Aardwolf, which isn't a wolf, is playing with the leaf. The lion is looking at the aardwolf and the gazelle, and he gives the elephant a look, and the elephant gives him a look like, don't even think it. So they're sitting down there, and the dust keeps flying up because, well, you got an elephant, you got a gazelle, and you got a lion, and you have an aardwolf, which isn't a wolf, down the hole, moving around, stirring up dust. The elephant gets ready to sneeze, and the antelope puts a hoof under the elephant's trunk so he won't sneeze. But then he's ready to sneeze, and the lion puts a paw under his nose so he won't sneeze. And the aardwolf goes, achoo! And they all look at him. The elephant says, no, you got to get out of here. And the elephant grabbed him with his trunk, twirled him around, threw him out of the hole. And he lands on the ground outside of the hole. And the lion said, woof, that was a close one. Aardwolf, that isn't a wolf, looks down the hole and says, thank you. See ya. Yep, I got places to go. And he left. And the gazelle said, wait, what? And the elephant said, I think we've been tricked. And the lion looked at the gazelle like, well, at least I'll get a meal out of this. And he looked at the elephant looked at him like, don't even think it. And the aardwolf never came back. Now, I don't know how long those other three animals were down the hole. I don't know if they got out of the hole. I don't know the whole story but behind that. But I do know this. Elephants are known for their strength and their memories. Lions are known for being courageous and wise. Antelopes are known for being very, very fast. And these are all much larger animals than the aardwolf, because the aardwolf is a small, scruffy-looking animal, like the size of a small dog, with kind of brown, burnished stripes or dots on his fur. And it's not a wolf. It's not a dog. Some people think it's a hyena. It's not. Some people think it's a jackal, but it's not. But it's a scruffy, small animal. And this scruffy, small animal outwitted the king of the jungle, one of the fastest animals in the world, and one of the strongest animals in the world, who has a deep memory. I'm quite sure if he got out of that hole, he was going to look for the aardwolf. And so the lesson in this story is, number one, don't believe everything you hear. Number two, it's not just size that determines how successful you'll be at solving problems. It's how you use your brain. And oh, yeah, remember that leaf that I told you about that I said I wasn't going to make a pun? Well, I changed my mind because you have to believe in yourself before you can get anything done. Asante. Yeah. All right.
What can I say? Nothing. There's nothing I can add.
It's one of my favorite stories. It's evolving.
All
I
right.
never tell it the same way twice, but I love that story. When I adapted for the African American community, or rather for the United States of America community,
Yeah.
they become a bear, puma, mountain lion, and a rabbit. And I have to be careful because, well, because the grouping of animals tells you a lot about the geography and about where it takes place.
Yeah.
Although I've learned to relax it a little bit because I've told um, um, stories about the West Indies or the Bahamas or Jamaica that have an elephant in it, and there are no elephants native to any of those. So, but the story, even then, it tells you about its origin because it had to have, if it has an elephant in it, it probably started out in one of the African nations or maybe parts of Asia. But anyhow, that's my story about the odd wolf and the leaf.
Thank you. I use variations on the hair of the tortoise because the hair of the tortoise changes depending on where
Yes.
you are. So, in Germany and the Netherlands, it's not the hair on the tortoise, it's the hair on the hedgehog.
Ah,
Um, and in England, we have a race, and it's the hedgehog again, but he doesn't race a hare or a deer. In Brazil, it's a deer. Um, in England, the hedgehog races the devil.
ooh.
Ooh. And you'll never guess who wins.
Um, oh, one
Mm.
last thing. In the islands, in some of the islands like Jamaica, it's the land turtle.
Okay.
Uh, but the Yeah, it's the land turtle. And the land turtle, I'm like land turtle because turtles are water,
Yeah,
live mostly in water, and tortoises live mostly on the
on
land.
land.
People
Yes,
use two interchangeably, and they
they
really
do.
are, But anyhow, I'm going to be quiet and be amazed by Alistair
You're gonna be
Daniel.
amazed by my. I'm not sure if I've told this one before, but anyway, I'll tell it. I think I told it for the when we did the fundraiser last year for the earthquake. But anyway, as I'm on the spot having to tell a story, I'm going to tell the same story anyway. I want you to imagine what it's like being a king or a queen, a monarch. 2 weeks ago, I was in Germany on holiday and visited Sanssouci Park. And Sanssouci Park is a mile and a half. What's that? 2 kilometers? 2 kilometers, roughly, just over 2 kilometers
I'm American.
across.
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's got five palaces in it. Now, I live in a monarchy. We have palaces. We have a king. We have a queen. But our palaces really fall into, as a sort of slum dwelling compared to the Germans and the emperors of Germany. They really knew how to have a palace. Can you imagine the best kind of palace you could ever had? I suspect it's going to have marble floor, isn't it? It's going to have at least a white or pink marble floor. All the furniture is going to be of the finest teak wood and have little edging in gold. And when I say gold, I don't mean gold paint, I mean gold, edged in gold, with fine silk brocade cushions. And oh my goodness, the curtains, the velvet of the curtains, thick pile velvet in purples and greens and reds, so plush. The staircase. Can you imagine a staircase curving all the way up a high room, all the way to the next floor in marble and wood, and hanging over it a chandelier with so many thousand crystals in that chandelier, so many candles burning in it. And of course, at the end of the hall is a throne, because every king needs a throne. And it's a throne of gold studded with gems. And the king loved his palace. He loved the floors of pink marble. He loved the plush curtains of purple velvet. He loved the enormous sweep of the staircase and the crystals and the candles of the chandelier. And he loved his throne of gold set with gems. But more than all of this, he loved food. Now, I'm English. I was on holiday in Germany. I came back from Germany, and what's the first meal I'm going to have when I get home from Germany as an Englishman? I've missed it. Fish and chips. It's got to be fish and chips with salt
Fish
and
and chips.
vinegar, which is what I'm going to be having in about half an hour's time as well, because it's Friday and that's normally fish and chip night this Friday. So I love fish and chips. The king loved fish and chips. He loved fish and chips so much he wanted it any time of the day or night. I say I love fish and chips, it's my favorite food, but actually I think cake's probably my favorite food. And when I say cake, I mean probably coffee and walnut cake with a really nice layer of icing in it, frosting and a really good coffee flavor. And the king loved coffee and walnut cake, which meant that he wanted coffee and walnut cake whenever he could have it. I said coffee and walnut cake's my favorite. Actually, I'm not sure that's true because actually I really love biscuits. That's cookies for you, Barbara C. Uh, and my favorite biscuits, they're little like shortbread about this big, and in the center they've got a bit of raspberry jam, and then they're layered together with raspberry jam. They're called jammy Dodgers, and I absolutely adore jammy Dodgers. And the king loved jammy Dodgers just like me, and he wanted jammy Dodgers around any time. And because he was the king, he could have food any time of night or day. Which meant if he woke up in the middle of the night and he felt a little hungry, all he had to do was reach out of bed, and there next to the bed, there was fish and chips, fresh, always, doused with just the right amount of vinegar, just the right layer of salt on it. If he went to the toilet in the middle of the night, he'd find next to the sink when he washed his hands, there'd be a plate of jammy Dodgers waiting for him. And then when the morning when he woke up and put on his crown, as he lifted up his crown, underneath his crown, there'd be a coffee and a walnut cake. In fact, there was food all over the palace, and the king loved all kinds of food. So yes, there was coffee and walnut cake, fish and chips and jammy Dodgers, but there was also sushi as he walked down through the columns, through the corridors of his palace. Sushi on little stands as he walked past, and then there'd be a pizza, a fresh pizza, always a fresh pizza. And as he went down further, there'd be some nachos, and then there'd be some pasta, and then there'd be food from all over the world whenever he wanted it, 24 hours a day. We've got a problem, haven't we? Because if you have food out 24 hours a day, you're not going to be the only one eating it, are you? And in fact, if you looked at the coffee and walnut cake, you'd notice little bite marks in the coffee and walnut cake. Because if you have food out 24 hours a day, you also have mice. And there's another problem with mice. They don't just take little bites out of them, because if you looked at those Jammy Dodger biscuits, you'd have noticed there were little black currants, like little raisins, tiny little raisins. Oh, they're not raisins. They're really not raisins. If you looked at the fish and chips, there was look like clear vinegar next to the fish and chips. But the vinegar we have in fish and chips is brown, not clear. It wasn't vinegar, because when mice eat food, they just go to the toilet wherever they are. And the food all over the palace, 24 hours a day, was it being eaten by mice who went to the toilet where they ate the food. No one could eat it. The king certainly couldn't eat it. And eventually he called his advisor and he said, "This is disgusting. Something has to be done about these mice." And the king's advisor said, "Your Majesty, if you wish to get rid of mice, you need to get a cat." And the king said, "A cat? I'm the king. Fill my palace with cats." So the palace was filled with cats. And the mice soon, the mice soon the mice disappeared. So now the king had he had a palace full of cats that he was allergic to. And the king said, "This is disgusting. Something, something has to be done about these cats. And his advisor said, Your Majesty, if you wish to get rid of cats, you need to get a dog. And the king said, A dog? I'm the king. Fill my palace with dogs. So the palace was filled with dogs, big dogs, small dogs, hairy dogs, bald dogs, and the cats disappeared. So now the king was really happy, but fish and chips, coffee and walnut cake, sushi, nachos, pasta, pizza, and dogs. And the dogs smelt the food, and the dogs started to dribble with the smell of the food. In fact, they dribbled so much that that pink marble floor became a skating rink as people slid on the dog saliva. Those beautiful brocade cushions on the furniture, if you sat on them, it was like sitting on a bath sponge because they were so soaked in dog saliva. And one morning, the king woke up and he thought it was now raining in his bedroom. He opened his eyes and realized standing over him was a Great Dane who was dropping saliva all over his face. The king wiped the saliva from his eyes, pushed the dog off the bed, and shouted for his advisor. He said, This is disgusting. Something has to be done about these dogs. And his advisor said, Your Majesty, if you wish to get rid of dogs, you need to get... Oh. Well, cats get rid of mice. That's easy. Dogs get rid of cats. That's easy. But getting rid of dogs, he said, you need to get an elephant. And the king said, An elephant? I'm the king. Fill my palace with elephants. So the palace was filled with a huge herd of elephants, and the dogs disappeared. So the king's problem was no, wait a minute, a huge herd of elephants. We've got a pink marble floor, remember? We've got beautiful teak furniture edged with gold, brocade cushions. We've got velvet curtains of purple and red and green. We have a magnificent, majestic, sweeping staircase and a chandelier with thousands of crystals and hundreds of candles, and now a herd of elephants storming through the castle, through the palace even. It's changed. It was a palace. It's now a castle. He obviously needed to protect it and build fortifications. And as the elephants went charging through, destroying the palace in their wake, the king said, This is disgusting! Something has to be done to stop these elephants. And his advisor said, Your Majesty, if you wish to get rid of elephants, you need to get a mouse. And the king said, A mouse? I'm the king! Fill my palace with mice. So the palace was filled with mice and the elephants disappeared, and our story has gone all the way around. And as far as I know, it will continue to go around. Mice, cats, dogs, elephants, mice, cats, dogs, elephants, mice, cats, dogs, elephants, until the king realizes that we really don't need to have food 24 hours a day. Or if not that, at least buys some sealable plastic storage for his food. But that is my telling of the king's problem, which is a 2,000-year-old story from the Hindu Panchatantra text. And that was how I told it to you.
That is brilliant. That is talking about the circle of life. That is brilliant. Yes, and listen, never be ashamed to repeat a story. A story told is like a meal that's enjoyed. It's all right to have it again.
Well, I told that on the first night of the International Festival in the Storytelling Cafe,
Right.
and then the rest of the week, every time I walked into the Storytelling Cafe, I was greeted by somebody going, "Your Majesty." And the first time they did it, I go, "What are you doing? What's that about?" And, oh yeah, I told that story, didn't I? Oh yeah,
Yes, 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 yes. That's what I like about stories. They're so fascinating. And when you have a tagline and people repeat it to you, it's
yeah.
great. Now mine wasn't Your Majesty, but when I was in Marrakesh, out of nowhere, when I would walk down the Medina, and for those who are not familiar with Marrakesh, the Medina is the oldest part of the city, and it's where a lot of the vendors are in the souks where they sell goods. But I guess about third day in, I'm walking down the souks in the Medina, and people are looking outside their stalls. They started chanting, Baba C,
Mm.
Baba C, Baba C. So I'm walking with my fellow storytellers, and some of them says, somebody's a VP around here. I said, I could get used to this. I'm beginning to feel a little important. And they went, a little. But it was a very nice feeling to know that your story have reached and touched hearts.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a great thing. So yeah, that was a great story.
And
Uh,
your thing about biscuits, one is just simply reminded of the quote that we are two peoples divided by a common language.
yes. Oh, and for those who are not here with us on World Storytelling Cafe.com, I put in our chats that biscuits in the United States are small baked bread delights about the size of cupcakes. I really don't know how to describe biscuits other than that, but they're really small little things of bread, but
Mm.
they're so delicious. And yeah, and you put butter or honey on them, and oh man, some people
Then
put yeah.
if you think that's delicious, you need to try a jammy dodger.
Yes. Then one of the things I encourage people to do, if you want to learn about another culture, if you want to learn about another people, you study their art, listen to their music, but most of all, sample their food
Mm.
because the food has a lot of history. The food tells you so much. In Marrakesh, they serve mint tea with everything. And outside of peppermint tea, I'm not a mint tea lover, but Marrakesh, I
Uh,
couldn't get enough.
yeah, it's different. It's very different, isn't it?
Very,
It's
very different.
I wouldn't drink it here in the UK, but in Marrakesh, absolutely. Yeah.
And the coffee was different too. Americans tend to drink their coffee with cream and sugar, or many of them, I won't say everything. But when I was in Marrakesh, I drank the coffee black for the most part.
Oh yes.
Yes, it was
Oh yes.
delicious. The coffee in Marrakesh and the coffee from not India, not too far. No, it's still in Africa. Oh my God, Ethiopia.
Okay.
If you ever have a chance to go to
I've not had. Okay.
An Ethiopian coffee ceremony, go because it's
Oh.
more, yeah, it's about the coffee, it's about camaraderie.
Mm.
They serve other things, but unless they put cream and sugar out, don't ask for it, don't use it.
I would
Uh,
never. I would never do that to a coffee. I might
yeah,
put sugar in it. I must admit, I might sometimes put sugar occasionally, but I would. I haven't had milk in coffee since I was 10 years old.
I don't do cow's milk, but I do almond milk, and I'll put almond milk in. If I drink coffee black, it means it was made absolutely perfect. And even I don't always make absolutely perfect coffee. So I may add a dash of cream. Um, but yes, and I like it black. I shy away from sweeteners, but yeah, to each his own. But if you go to an Ethiopian coffee ceremony, they
Right.
may have popcorn, they may have little bread thingies, but it's about the whole experience. It's about the
I
coffee,
I
yes, but it's
I know
about the
very little about Ethiopian cuisine. We went to an Ethiopian restaurant in Cape Town because we were looking for somewhere to lunch, and it was for lunch. It was open. That was really nice. So that's the only time I've experienced Ethiopian food. But
well,
I
living in the nation's capital, talking about the United States of America, we're very cosmopolitan, I guess the word you want.
mm,
You have people literally from all around the world and all over the country in Washington, D.C. So we have Indian restaurants, we have Ethiopian restaurants, we have Eritrean restaurants, we have some African restaurants, and I say that because I don't remember which countries, mostly Nigerian and
Yeah.
Ghanaian. We have restaurants from Trinidad and Tobago. We have Jamaican restaurants. And then you talk about the United States, which is really a microcosm of the world because depending on what state you're in, there are different cultures and different food trends. So yeah, you can get, but in Washington, D.C., you can probably get food from whatever country you're from or whatever culture you lean toward, because we have such a wide variety. In fact, we have a restaurant week in Washington, D.C., where certain restaurants open up. They have special offerings, and it's really, really good. You have to be careful you put back on weight. I say put back on because I had lost some weight. I moved and I started cooking again and from scratch. And I just discovered that I've gained back half the weight I lost. So I got
Nice.
to do something about that. You know, I'm looking at the old clock on the wall. Wait a minute, I don't have a clock on the wall. Okay, well, I'm looking at the clock on my phone. It says it's 1:50. And so I should point in that next week at this time, Stories for Children will feature, oh man, the miraculous, the wonderful Maria Gillen. And I hope I said her last name correctly.
You
I'm
did?
American. Forgive me if I did. In fact, there's an old joke that goes around and says, what do you call someone who speaks 5 languages? You say polylingual. What do you call someone who speaks 2 languages? You call them bilingual. What do you call someone who speaks 1 language? American.
Same for us. Same for us.
You know, so but she's fascinating. I've been interviewed by her. She was in Marrakesh. She tells stories. She just totally captivates the audience. So next week at 6 p.m. UK time, please catch the one, the only, the magnificent Maria Gillen. I don't think we don't have get a word in edgewise, or is it edgeway? We don't have that yet. We won't start that back up until September. John Rowe and company, wherever you are, we hope you're having a great time. We look forward to you rejoining us. I'm so glad to be here today. I could say I took the day off to be here today, but that would be kind of, but I'm glad I came here. Alistair, it's always a joy to,
Lovely to see you.
oh, it's lovely. It's wonderful, and I look for,
And
are you
thank you,
gonna,
Waleed, for the opportunity.
oh, hey, mutual. Do you think you'll be in Marrakesh in January?
I don't know. I would like to be, yeah. But who knows? But it's in my
I,
diary. It's in my diary.
I got my fingers crossed. I want to go. A lot of things have been taken care of. I don't want to be the poor American in Marrakesh. I was telling people traveling is expensive. It's interesting. They'll pay dancers, pay dancers, pay musicians, pay singers, almost any other art form. When you're invited to another country or another culture, they pay you up front.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it is not always the same for storytellers.
No.
A lot of times we get to places and we have room and board taken care of, meals taken care of, but back home you still got bills that need to be taken care of. So, by the way, good folk, when you tune in and you see the little hat or icons of the storyteller, please feel free to drop a few, a dollar or 5 or 100, whatever, in the hat because it helps a lot. And I'm not saying that just because of me. I'm also saying that on behalf of Alistair and other storytellers. Support your local artists. Yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up. We got about
Okay.
7 minutes to go. Anything you'd like to say before we sign out?
Not at all. It's just been a pleasure to see you, Babasi. Well, I mean,
All
I
right.
wasn't expecting to have a lovely evening with you. I thought I was just going to be sitting and listening and just nodding occasionally. So, thank you very much.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, you want to hear the shortest story ever told?
Go on.
You want to hear it again? But bump.
Ah,
Yeah, I have to get at least one pun in. It's in my
yeah.
All right,
Right.
so we got about 6 minutes, but Alistair, like you said, we are a mutual admiration society, and I really
Well, it's one maths teacher to another maths teacher. That's what it is.
yes. And I have to give, my becoming involved with Marrakesh and some of the other storytelling outlets. I owe a lot to storytellingcafe.com. Baden Print, Baden Prince Baden.
Baden Prince.
Yes. Um, I was introduced to him, or he was introduced to me through another platform. He asked John if he could interview me. John said yes, but it turned into an interview slash performance, and I've been involved ever since. Now, in 23, I went through a lot of personal challenges, but I'm back, and I'm glad to say that most of those challenges have been resolved. The others are being resolved, and this really is like a third home to me. I got three homes: Washington, D.C., worldstorytellingcafe.com, and Marrakesh, Morocco. Oh, I am blessed. I am blessed indeed. So how's that for burning up time?
That's very good. You've done this before, haven't you?
Hey, yes. So for those of you who are tuning in, you've been listening to Stories for Children by Alistair Daniel and Baba C. Baba C. I don't know why that's up there twice. I keep editing it out and it keeps popping back up. But anyhow, John Rowe and company, wherever you are, we hope that you're having a good time. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing from you very, very soon. In the meantime, on behalf of Stories for Children and the storytellingcafe.com, I'm Baba C. And you are
Alistair Daniel.
wishing you a magnificent evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are. Take care. Peace. And
Bye-bye.
thank you until the next time. Oh, and thank you, Waleed, for flying the magic carpet. We really enjoy that. So, Waleed, I know you're waiting for me to say this, so here it goes. See out. Take care, my friend. See you soon. All right, Waleed. Thank you. You were magnificent as always.